he says, we really value marriage. To our first cousins. To our first cousins, we think it's great. It's fantastic. We really value it. It's like, no, that's not a value of mine, sir. And I don't think that that's secular to say. It's not a value of Christians. Do not want to have sex with their family members.
Andrew Wilson completely destroys this Muslim and his entire world live in this explosive debate, as Andrew Wilson holds nothing back in the total destruction he inflicts during this heated exchange, calling out the complete dysfunction and inbreeding of Muslim society, proving why Christian nations are more advanced. Let's get in.
Make that argument. There are some high IQ Christian nations that move to even higher IQ Christian nations, but none of them move to Muslim nations. You're not getting anybody to move over there, Daniel, because you don't have civilizations. You can't create civilizations. He says AI is going to come along and solve it all. You got to be smart enough to use the AI, Daniel. You have to be smart enough to use the AI. Remember, 70 to 85, that's your societies, 70 to 85. Basic jobs, practical skill, routine labor. Doesn't sound like a bunch of automation, robot building, AI savvy individuals to me, Daniel. He points out the ideas of IQ. Remember, we have to have a basic minimum for civilization, about 98 to 100 to 115. They don't have it. That's the distinction in our civilizations. And it's because of one value. Christians outlaw screwing your own family members. That's it. Simple. They outlaw it. It's no good. And even in places where it's legal, we must be adhering to the ecclesiology here, Daniel, because where it's legal, people still ain't banging their cousins. That's your societies, the ones that you build. And what you have built is a collective of some of the dumbest people on planet Earth who are at the mercy of Christians. And don't try to cope and say, no, they're at the mercy of the atheists. Give me a break. Everybody is at the mercy right now of Western nations and Western Christians, which are in them. And that includes Eastern Europe, by the way. So this is all cope. He hasn't refuted any of the arguments. How can he possibly say these low IQ societies which Islam creates are better than the ones Christians do on this one principle? I want to hear it.
Go ahead, Daniel.
Yeah, so you don't need to know how AI works to be able to operate it. That's why it's a evening of the playing field. I don't know if anyone here has used AI, but you don't actually need to know how to program AI to be able to use it. This is something that is very obvious, how AI is going to make IQ differences really irrelevant in the future, and this is what all of the futurists are saying. Second of all, you have Christians in more religious Christian countries going to less religious Christian countries. You have, again, the sub-Saharan Africans, you have the Latin Americans who are Christian going into more secularized nations. So this is, again, an argument for secularism, not for Christianity. You say that there are no Christians moving to Muslim countries. What about all the Christians in Africa, in the Philippines, in Southeast Asia that go to Dubai, that go to the UAE, that go to Saudi? That is a counterexample to your really bizarre claim. You also, again, look at what makes a society great. I think that's the overarching point that is so hard to believe that a Christian would make this argument. I value marriage. I value children. I value having big families. I value belief in God. I believe church attendance or like religious attendance to places of worship. These are the things that I find valuable, and I showed you how within Muslim countries all of these things are higher despite having a lower IQ, which I'll grant you. Did you say over or 10 seconds?
No, you're good. That was 90 seconds. Go ahead, Andrew.
Yeah, so this is really funny. Imagine the irony of saying this. Well, Christians are moving to more secular countries. So are Muslims. Well, what are you talking about? The mass migration. No one's bitching about the mass migration of the Christians right now, are they, to Christian nations? They're bitching about it the other way around. Really interesting, too, he still hasn't refuted the argument. Notice he does everything we get in the... He says, we really value marriage. To our first cousins. To our first cousins, we think it's great. It's fantastic. We really value it. It's like, no, that's not a value of mine, sir. And I don't think that that's secular to say. It's not a value of Christians. Do not want to have sex with their family members. And by the way, can you please explain, even though I've asked you many times, how it could be possible, sir, that you create better societies than Christians where everywhere Christians go based on their ecclesiology, their ecclesiastic authority, and the fact that they're Christians, inbreeding goes down, making sure that the IQ at least sits somewhere around can function. Can you please, for the love of all that is good, I don't even care if you Google it at this point, just contend with the argument. How are you making a better society with inbreeding and your Muslim values, which over 1,400 years have produced the dumbest societies on planet Earth?
Folks, let me know down below whether or not you agree or disagree with marrying your first cousin. Now, I'm going to guess basically everybody is going to say, yeah, you shouldn't do that. But if you didn't know, the Muslim world doesn't think like that. And Andrew Wilson is 100% spot on. Yes, they are perfectly okay with marrying within the family to their first cousins. And this is why, if you didn't know, the majority of the Muslim world are actually inbred. Like when you look it up and find that stat, I think it's like 60 or 70%. It's a massive amount that are inbred. And everyone knows in the Western world that there are consequences to inbreeding. We've seen it in old kingships and old dynasties. Like it doesn't work. It destroys you. You can't do it. There are consequences. So how does that play out if it's like hundreds of millions or like a billion people? Like, what does that do for those entire populations? And yeah, like Andrew Wilson said, these people aren't going to make AI. They're not going to. The guy's rebuttal was, oh, well, it's going to make it even for everybody. So you won't have to know how to use it. Well, who do you think's programming it? It's not going to be you. It's going to be somebody else because you can't do it. He just reduced it to the bottom common denominator, like, oh, we can all use it. Yeah, that's the point. But you're still not the one programming it because you don't understand how it works, and you couldn't do it if you tried. That's the point that Andrew Wilson is making, because most of you are inbred, and that's why your IQ is sitting at the lowest. Like, folks, you know the consequences of this. You simply can't do it, and this is absolutely why the Western world, it explains why you would have higher IQs, because you don't do this. So you don't do stuff that makes your IQ go down, allowing it to go up, making your entire society more advanced because you're better at science, materials, manufacturing, and basically all modern skills. But hit that like button and notification bell if you're enjoying the video, and if you want to help support the channel, check out the link in the description, and let's get back in.
Wait, let me ask the audience a question here. Oh, sorry. Let me ask the audience a question.
Appeal to the audience.
Are there electric cars being developed in Latin America? Are there new AI technologies being developed in Brazil and Argentina? Are they being developed in sub-Saharan Africa, these Christian countries? Because they don't have cousin marriage, do they, Andrew? So why aren't they developing all of these technologies, these amazing technologies, AI, nuclear weapons, fighter jets? I didn't see Brazil or Honduras producing any fighter jets, Andrew. Is it because they don't have cousin marriage? Why? They should be having this brain-blasting IQ in all these Christian countries. Why is that not the case? If Christianity is the secret sauce, Andrew, then tell me why these countries don't have those technologies. Explain it. Because the reason, I'll give you a spoiler alert, because it's not Christianity. It's not Christianity and cousin marriage that causes this discrepancy. And if you're so high IQ in the United States, how are you not able to figure out birth rate, fertility rate? Why are these countries going extinct? Why is Europe going extinct? Why is Christianity, these Christian countries in Europe, the population is on a nosedive despite the high IQ? They can't even figure out how to reproduce at replacement levels. Gee, I guess IQ leads to extinction because it's correlated, right? The higher IQ you have, the lower the fertility rate. So it seems like the more Christianity you have, the more chances you have of going extinct, Andrew. Explain that for us.
Well, if that were the case, you're in big trouble. Because if it's the case that your IQ stays the same and then collectively secularist IQ goes up, what's to stop them from wiping all of you out and you can't do anything about it? Your argument, unfortunately, destroys you. When you say, well, wait a second, what about these South American nations, right? Yes, they're way more advanced than your nations. Way more. Not even in the same universe more advanced than your nations. Yes. The truth of the matter is that the reason Islam creates worse societies. We can bicker about theology, right? Hey, I'm sure Daniel could probably get me on some points there, but you can't bicker on the facts. And he hasn't contended with the argument still. He's asked me a bunch of questions. Did you actually hear an argument, anybody? Because there isn't an argument. The reason Islam makes worse societies is because they have a doctrine for cousin marriage. Now, notice Daniel didn't say, no, you can't fuck your first cousin and marry her. No. He didn't say that. Because he probably believes that you should. He probably believes it's fine. He probably believes something about like it protects inheritance or something like this, right? The thing is, though, is like, can we please get an argument for how a society that doesn't at least have 100 IQ so we can have middle management isn't better than, well, donkey pull cart? That's what I want to know. And please, for the love of God, sir, when you say it's not because of Christianity, the entire historical record disagrees with you. When pagans were at 20 to 30%, guess what? It was Christians who brought that down.
90 seconds.
And by the way, in all of the Muslim shared nations with Christians and Muslims, they're always lower IQ than the Christians because they fuck their cousins.
And time. We'll go.
Yeah, Andrew Wilson bringing it home right to the point in which he started with. Like this guy on the right, this Muslim, he tries to talk about every other country. Why not this? Why not this? Why not this? This is obfuscation. Like you're ignoring the point. You're making arguments that no one's posting, and you're trying to solve problems that no one's talking about. But you're ignoring the point that you're still at the bottom. Why is that? Why are you still at the bottom? Never mind everybody else. And not only that, but like not all advanced countries are Christian. China outlaws religion altogether, and they're nosediving as well. That's all a result of industrialization and feminization. That's why birth rates are collapsing the most. But still, Christians are smarter because, yes, they're not inbreeding. They're not doing the first cousins. And when you have something that's etched into the very fabric of your society, your doctrine, how does that play out? That's the root of everything, which means you can't escape it no matter what you do. It's written in there. It's like our Constitution. It's etched in stone. You can't escape it. So this is put in the Muslim world, and no matter what this guy does, he can dance around the point, but he still can't acknowledge the fact that marrying your first cousin and what you reproduce on the other side is still producing worse results. And all you have to do is not do that, and then you solve that problem. But then that upsets their entire religion. Like there's no getting out of it. But thanks for watching. Let me know in the comments what you thought about what Andrew Wilson had to say, completely destroying this Muslim and his entire worldview in this clip. Thanks again, like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.